What's up, everybody? Welcome to our first podcast episode. We are Mount Youth, and thank you so much for tuning in. First of all, if you're wherever you're watching from, feel free to comment in the comment area. We want to definitely interact with you guys. But my name is Marcos, youth pastor here at Mountain City Church, and here with a couple friends, more youth, and we just want to go ahead and explore today's topic. But I want you guys to get to know them first. So,
hi guys, my name is Shekinah Rivas, and I am a worship leader from Mountain City Church.
Hi guys, my name is Isaiah and I attend Mount City Church, and yeah, that's about it.
Hi guys, my name is Astrid Ringel and I'm just here to hopefully connect with you guys.
Sweet. Awesome. Yeah, and we're so excited, and we decided that we would, for our first topic, I think it's super important. We talked about this, we were going back and forth, and I think we definitely want to dive into a lot of what Bible has to say about these topics that we're going to have. But, mainly we really want to focus starting with mental health, because I think it's such big issue with youth. And today we're going to focus on why we get anxious. So why do you get anxious? Why do, I think we've all experienced anxiety. I don't think anybody has never felt anxiety. And if you haven't, then that's cool. That's not fair. But we've all experienced anxiety. And so we just thought we'd start with that topic. I think it's really important that we understand, what's causing us to be anxious, and then next week for sure we'll explore more, on the next episode, more on how to actually overcome it. But today, let's talk about why we get anxious. So I just kind of want to start off by us talking a little bit about our personal experience, because we've all have been anxious before, but let's kind of hear your guys' personal perspective and see hear a little bit more about you guys. I don't know who wants to start first. First ideas, first stories that come to your mind when first time you ever felt anxiety to this level where you're like, yo, I can't control this, I don't know.
I think Astrid can start.
I would say that one of my first experiences with anxiety was when I did not meet, I can't say it was my parents' bar or my parents' expectations, but I thought in my head that they were expecting so much from me.
Right.
And so it made me so anxious. It got to a point where I was trying to be something I was not, trying to become something that I was not feeling inside. So I can definitely say that's one of my biggest anxieties that I have felt. To the point where I can't control it. I would say I had one experience when I was up on a mountain. I got in a car crash. And so I've been very afraid of driving or somebody driving me, I would say. We were coming down from a mountain. I think my brother remembers. Oh yeah. By the way, Isaiah is my brother.
Yeah, for everybody's watching.
So yeah, we were coming down from the mountain. It was raining. There was so much lightning. You couldn't see a thing. It was pitch black.
We were driving.
We were driving down, and you could see the water sliding down. So I was panicking.
Yeah.
It got so bad I felt like I needed a helicopter to come rescue me. I couldn't breathe. My hands were numb. I think I lost it, I would say.
The same thing. I think me and Astrid were both in our head because we were both anxious. I wasn't as anxious as her. I was just calming down from an anxiety attack in the other car, and she was with her husband. I was with my parents, and I was starting to get a little anxious, and I was just starting to think already. I was like, how am I going to get out of this? What if I die? How's a helicopter going to come in here and come pick me up and take me to a hospital or something?
That's crazy because we get so stuck in our head.
It's
overthinking.
The more you think about it, you try to calm down, but it's
you
no, I'm
focus on
okay.
it.
And then my body's like, no, you're dying. And I'm what do I do? And so, yeah, definitely I would say that's one of my worst anxieties. I think my anxiety got so bad I even got to my dog. I had my dog in the back and she was crying because I was so anxious.
Yeah.
My husband had to stop. I had to go in the car with my mom and we had to just pray the whole way back because I couldn't. It was a really bad anxiety attack. It was really bad.
I was barely calming down from the anxiety attack I was having, and so I was good. I was all right, cool. And I was praying, it was starting to relax, and then I was and then she just came up into my head. I was like, dang, she's probably anxious because I know she's scared of driving and the rain and everything. Yeah. So I called her. I was like, I don't know what I told you. I was like, are you anxious? Are you nervous?
Are you okay or something like that? Yeah.
Are you okay?
And I was.
And then, I already felt like she was going to be anxious. So she said that. And I was like, oh, dang. And then my mom was like, okay, let's stop the car and get her in here.
I think it got worse because I knew he would understand how I felt.
Yeah.
And so when he called me, like my hand was so numb, I couldn't even answer the phone. Like it was a
bad.
bad
Yeah,
anxiety
yeah, it
attack.
sounds
I
like
think
it's
that's like the
terrible.
worst I've had. I answer the phone and I like kind of start crying. I think right. I never really cry on the phone with my
Yeah.
brothers, but I start crying. I was like, I can't do it. Like I'm gonna die. Like
Yeah, that's
how is the helicopter gonna
That's
come
for sure
rescue me?
scary, yeah.
There was no signal, so I couldn't call 911. We just had to come down of the mountain, and I just
what is that whole road having like still have
yeah,
to,
everything. And I was
yeah.
trying to pray, but it was so bad I
so
couldn't.
intense.
Yeah, it was just
Yeah,
intense.
it's crazy because anxiety is like something that you can kind of like tell from others, and
Yeah.
in a way, it's almost kind of contagious. Like if you
Yeah.
put a bunch of anxious people in one room
Yeah.
together,
Yeah.
it's like you wouldn't be surprised if like
Well,
everybody
definitely-
just loses it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, I guess it just depends on how it manifests on your body. I
Mm-hmm.
would say that when it gets so bad for me, it becomes very physical.
Yeah.
Like my body physically will
Shuts
let
down,
me know.
kind of?
Yeah, it shuts
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
I can't do
That's
much.
true.
I can't think. My head is.
So I mean,
A
yeah,
blur.
anxiety can for sure look like different things for different people. You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
for moms who get anxious because of their
Yeah.
kids, it's like sometimes kids interpret it as they just get mad or they just got worried. But anxiety can look different. So many people, some people are like so reserved and like you
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
even tell they're anxious, but
Yeah.
their anxiety is low. Like there's a lot of medical issues
Yeah.
that doctors say because of anxiety and just stress, but sometimes you can't see that. It's really
Yeah. Yeah.
internal stuff.
Yeah, and I would definitely say anxiety can like be contagious because especially if you have two people who are already anxious and then like you just find out that they're anxious and it's like it kind of feels like a burden to you because you're like, oh no, we're all gonna
Like,
die.
yeah. And you want to be like, how can I help you? And you get
Yeah.
anxious trying to figure out how to help the other person.
But at the same time, I feel that God allows it so that we can help and have compassion for the other people who are dealing with
Oh,
like,
yeah.
anxiety.
Because,
Yeah, I can definitely say I used to think people are like, what's wrong with that
Yeah.
person? Like, what? How can you not
Yeah,
control
you're like
yourself?
crazy.
But I think it was right after the crash. That's when I started getting so anxious. I think I went months without driving because I was so scared. And it was worse because I was the one driving and I had my brothers as a passenger.
Yeah.
And he wasn't the one.
It wasn't that,
But yeah, definitely that's something that I don't know. It's hard to explain. I think
Your first experience is like, because we're gonna tell all of our first experiences, right?
Well, yeah, like if you guys have first experiences, because I think
Yeah.
some people for sure get anxiety attacks,
Yeah.
and where it's like that, where they're really freaking out. I really haven't personally experienced something where I can see, and I have a sister, Dara. She's had like anxiety attacks, panic attacks, and then like seeing that, it's like it freaks me out, and it's
Right.
like so I never could say like I've experienced something just like it. But we've all have experienced anxiety, but maybe
Yeah.
it doesn't look just
I think
like that.
you
but
were
yeah.
already having anxiety, right? When
Well,
that-
that's what I'm gonna get into once I tell my first one. But
Yeah,
what
go.
I
No,
wanted
because I wanted to point out that
Yeah.
I didn't understand it until I
Yeah.
actually went through it, and so every time after that, when he would have like an anxiety attack or something, like I would relate to it. So I would try to talk him out of it, but because you know what it feels like, but when you don't know, it's kind of hard to get to people to understand what you're going through, and yeah.
So we're very well experienced.
Yeah.
We're very well experienced.
100 plus attacks.
I think you can.
But, I would say I think once you get your first anxiety attack, I think from there you enter into like this loophole, and you just can't seem to get out of it.
Yeah.
But my first anxiety attack was, it was first when I started, maybe like a year after I started like smoking weed, and every time I would smoke, not every single time, but a lot of times I would do it. I would get anxious, and then people would just calm me down, but like it was gonna. I thought that would just happen to me when I was high, so when I was sober, it would never happen to me. But when I was high, it would happen to me. But sometimes I would still take the risk and be like, oh, I'll smoke. Maybe I won't feel anxious this time. And I'd just keep doing that. But then finally one time I had told my mom I had stopped, and then I didn't. This was my sophomore year, like 2 months into school.
Yeah.
And I had like this um, cart, like the wax, you know, I had it in my backpack, and it was like a year old, and it was just in my backpack from like last year. And that year I got like the pen thingy to make it work. And then one day I was just like, all right, I'm gonna try and like smoke as much as I can this time, because I was like, oh, I was about to go take a shower. I was
Yeah.
just in the bathroom, and I was just chilling, and I was just smoking in there. And like I had like the steam, and I had like the steam going on, and like I was still dressed though. I was like just there smoking. I did so much. I was like, oh, I want to experience like something new. That's what I thought.
Wow.
And then I did it. I hadn't had like anxiety in a while from there. Like I hadn't, even while I was high. And then I did it that one day, and all I remember is I went to sleep. I went to sleep in my room. I don't remember the shower. I just remember, like I tried finishing it like all the way. Like I tried getting like to a new level, and I was just, and that was instant regret. But all I remember from then is I just went to sleep, and the next thing I remember is I woke up panicking, and my heartbeat was like so fast, and
Wow.
I woke up like so panicked. I went to the bathroom, and I was like just starting to have these thoughts. I was like, oh, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die. So I went to my mom's room. I woke them up, and I told them like I couldn't breathe, and then they just got all scared, and then they took me to the hospital, and I got there, and then they just told me it was an anxiety attack.
Right. Wow.
And after that, I just quit smoking, like just like that.
Just
I was
like
like,
that.
yeah, I'm
You're
done.
like, I don't need another reason to
I'm
stop.
done. Yeah.
For sure. No, that does show like these two examples. It's like one like personal like a regular life experience, like an accident, but also like substance abuse. Like a lot of people who unfortunately run to substance as well to try and calm their anxiety, but at the same time, a lot of people have like feed the anxiety as well that way.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways that people feed their anxiety.
Yeah.
And it's like it's for sure tough.
Yeah.
But that's interesting to see that. But glad you stopped.
Yeah.
For me, I think it started in 7th grade. Some things went on with me, and I got into lots of trouble, and that's where I got really scared. And I was like, what are my parents going to think? What's going to go on? Are they going to think bad of me? And I had to call my mom, and I was like crying and crying, and I was shaking so much, and I would never shake before this. Like, I don't think I would ever just shake. Right now, I'd shake because ever since, But I take it as a consequence, and it's fine. No, I'm kidding. But I got really scared, and I started crying, and ever since that, I feel like for everything I would see, even if it was the smallest thing, like if there's that one fire in front of our house, I got scared and I started to panic. My legs were shaking, and I thought I was about to faint. Just because this house...
There's like a little factory like that in the last house that we lived in, and you know how factories have fires. Like
Yeah.
for
Right.
some reason it was super bright, and like she just wakes like she comes running to me like at 3 a.m. She's like, Marcos, like the neighborhood's on fire. She's like freaking out, and it was like
And
really
I
far
was
out.
like crying. My legs
Yeah.
were shaking.
And I wear
thought was gonna
contacts,
faint.
so I like it was 3 a.m, so I honestly couldn't see. I just see a bunch of light, and I was like, "Oh man, this is bad! Like, wake up, mom and dad." I was like, "We're." I thought
Everyone's
I
telling me
believed her, but that's the thing. She got anxious about something, and then I believed her. Physically,
Yeah.
I couldn't tell what was happening, but
And I was holding on to
it was
like the wall next to me because I was like, I'm a faint. And my legs were shaking so much, and I never felt that. And so then when I'd be like even next to like a little fire thing, or if I'm cooking, I can't get too close, or I wouldn't be able to get too close because I'd think, oh, I'm gonna catch on fire. The house is gonna catch on fire. I would overthink so much, and I recently stopped overthinking. But I would always come up to medicals and be like, Medicals, what if this happens? What if mom and
Yeah,
dad
that's
thinks
true.
this and that? What if this person thinks that this? And I would always overthink and be like, oh my god, I'm gonna get in trouble. This is the end. I'm gonna get screwed up. I'm not gonna live. I would start to overthink so much. And last year, I got distracted a lot with the world and everything, and I wouldn't get anxious, I guess you can say. But then my grandpa got sick and with cancer, and then I started getting scared and I started overthinking again. And when I was overthinking about my grandpa, it made me feel sick in the head, and I would tell myself that there was something wrong with me. and I'd tell myself, "Oh, you're psycho," and I'd like look at myself in the mirror and be like, "Oh, you're crazy. There's something wrong with you. You're sick," and stuff like that. And I brought so much negativity, yeah, onto myself, and there'd be times where I'd like try to like hurt myself, I guess, or stuff like that, just so I can, like, I guess you can say lower the pain.
Regulate yourself.
Regulate, right?
Regulate your emotions.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I'd get so scared, and I would still shake, and I just kept telling myself stuff like this because I was overthinking about my grandpa. And ever since that, at that time, I stopped eating. And then I guess my dad noticed that I stopped eating at work too, because I would come home from school and then go to work. So then I wouldn't eat at home. And then I'd be like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna go to work. I'm gonna eat," you know. And my dad would be like, "Are you actually eating at work?" And I stopped eating, and I stopped eating at school too, because I felt like something was gonna happen to me, or if I didn't even deserve the food. Like I started thinking a lot about that. I was just sick in the head, I guess you could say. Yeah. But then a lot happened, but we can talk about that.
I
next
feel
week.
like the more we talk about anxiety, like visually, I think the thing that comes to my head is those like in the carnivals, those like mirror houses. Like where you go into and it's just like mirrors left and right and it's like amazing. You try to get like, dude, that stuff gives me anxiety. Like, but like the more you think about it, it's like anxiety's like that. You're like trying to run from solution to solution and like you can't find one way out and you just stumble upon the same thing every time, like your own reflection. You keep looking at that same problem and you try to run in the other direction and it's like I feel like that's a visually representation of anxiety. I don't know why those things exist. I think they exist just to make people anxious. But and Chucky, she talked a lot about like in that a bunch of things that I think we can like break down as far as anxiety goes, specifically like how she overcame certain anxieties that we can definitely talk and discuss next episode. But there's a lot of reasons why I think people experience anxiety. Personally, for me, I'm a really anxious person when it comes to like I work a lot, and I'm like I'll become so obsessed with trying to finish things, and if that means I'm sleeping or not sleeping, and that means like staying up till 3 a.m. and or not eating and stuff like that, and just trying to make it like go the way that I'm like visualized it. I get really anxious with that, like when it just comes like obsessing with trying to get something done, trying to get something really such like that. Then like I get anxious when I like feel like I lose control. I think I really like to like those things where I feel like I have control over, and when I don't, I lose it.
We like to be in control.
Yeah, I think there's like this certain comfort and security when you feel like you have like.
I don't know why I would feel that because I'm the one that wrecked, but I can't have somebody else drive me.
So yeah,
I guess
it's interesting.
I don't know why I want the control.
Yeah,
it's like subconsciously you want the control, or like
you can't control the situation that you're in. Maybe like
Right.
if you couldn't control the weather, you couldn't control the lighting, the day. But if you could have, it's like you wouldn't. I don't know. Who knows? Yeah, there's certain things that we can't control, but. All right, yeah. So those are personal experiences that we've had. Talking about like our anxiety that we've had, and it's mainly just to let everybody know, like, anxiety is something everybody faces, and I think we all have our personal experiences. If you guys would like to share your guys' own experiences and also talk about how you guys were able to overcome that, that'll help out a lot of people, and we'll definitely talk more about how to overcome anxiety in the next episode. But there's more reasons than just like the personal ones that we talked about. So let's just talk briefly about what other things cause people to be anxious. I think it's a bunch, but like we were talking to somebody a while ago, and they're like, when people don't do what they're supposed to do, it makes them anxious. And it's like
Or on time.
when people aren't on time.
Yeah. No, like when people don't do things on time, it just brings stress onto them.
That's true. Yeah, sometimes certain jobs do like make you depend on people. Expectations for sure. You're expecting them to get something done.
I think it's just fear and whatever you may fear.
Do you think you can expand a little bit more on like what you think? Like
fear, for example, you could fear to lose control, or you could fear to death. You could fear death. You could fear death. Yeah. You could fear.
And it gets you anxious because it's like it's not like you're dying at that moment, but you fear and
I
it
think
gets you, it
that's-
makes you live in anxiety.
Yeah.
That's definitely something that would always run through my mind. I
Mm-hmm.
guess it still does sometimes, but I kind of just put it aside because it's something that you can't control. It's
Yeah.
definitely something that you just see happen and you don't know what's going. I guess that's a part of it. You don't know what's going to happen,
That's true.
I guess,
I
or
think
you
it-
don't have like, I don't know. Like to me, like when I see, well, I would say definitely like when one of our family members passed away recently, it definitely gave me like a different perspective. I would say it kind of just, I guess it became more real to me
Yeah.
because it was closer, and I was just, I guess I thought about it like with my daughter, and I was like, well, I could die tomorrow. Like I could not wake up tomorrow, and I
Yeah.
guess I kind of took it a little value on there and kind of put it like on my mindset, say like I should do this, right? Like because I don't know if I'm gonna be here tomorrow.
Right.
So I kind of, it gave me a different perspective, I guess, kind of give more value to life, or
Yeah.
moments.
Yeah.
I think it goes back to the same thing that we were saying. Like, we fear that we don't have the control.
I think for sure the word is
Yeah.
control
Yeah.
because fear in general kind of sounds bad. Like, we don't want to be afraid, but fear is good too. Fear is like a defense mechanism,
Right,
because if
yeah.
you're not afraid of standing in front of a train, like trail, like a railroad,
Right.
it's like if you're like, I don't fear nothing, and then you get run over, it's like, okay, cool, like, but it's like a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
But the word that for sure stands out is control. When you let the
Right.
fear control you, when you let people's when you put your dependency on people and you let that control you, and just in your relationships, when you just let everything control you and everything's driven from that.
Right.
And I think we'll explore that a lot more next episode.
Yeah.
We're talking about like masters.
I wonder,
people-
what do you guys think about sickness? Like when you don't have good health, people get anxiety from, I would say, symptoms.
I would
Right.
say
That's not
it goes back to death because you start to see that you're more like susceptible to dying because you're sick.
makes us more human though, in a way. Like
Yeah,
Well, I mean,
would
there could be somebody that's not scared of death, but you get anxiety because of how bad like it's physically how bad your symptoms are. I would say.
I would say the reason why you even get anxiety is because you're scared of death. Because if you know those symptoms are just gonna go away and they're not gonna kill you, then there would be no reason
Well,
to be.
not just that though. It's I think it's the control because it's like imagine a mother who is trying to raise her kids, but she's dealing with some sort of like health issue, physically. That in her, it's like she gets anxious every day because maybe the way she's trying to raise her kids, that's getting in her way of doing what she wishes she could do. So like it's not that she's afraid that sickness is gonna kill her, but more afraid of like I can't control this because it's more controlling me. And it's getting in the way of my daily life. I think anxiety for sure is like, it can get in the way of people's life. I don't know if that kind of relates to what you're
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about with sickness,
Let it
because
control you.
Yeah.
really just like when it
'cause
controls you.
You notice that something else has the control over you, and it goes back to the same thing. You don't have the control, so you get anxious that you
Yeah.
don't have the control.
And dude, and there's so many scriptures where Jesus
Yeah.
specifically talks about that and what to do and
Yeah.
trusting in him, which next episode, like I said, we're going to talk a lot about trust because control and trust are like two and like, I think they
to
go
back,
hand in hand,
yeah.
back to back. And then next week we'll for sure explore that. But in the Bible, there's so much more examples. So let's look into some examples of like of characters that we've seen in the Bible who have experienced anxiety. That it's evident that we just want you guys to know it's not something that, because it's a day and age thing. No, like the devil's been trying to use anxiety for the longest time. And I think we see that in a lot of people in the Bible. So who's the first person that comes to mind when you guys think about anxiety in the Bible?
I would say Jonah,
Jonah?
but more of a social anxiety.
Social anxiety?
Yeah.
That's true. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, where it's like he was, supposed to go share a word, and then it's like God, he
There's
turned the other way.
Elijah, There's King David.
Yeah, like there's a lot of prophets who, like Elijah, who ran and hid in a cave.
Yeah.
I guess. Do you think of any examples? And you said David. I mean, he was also being like persecuted. I mean,
Yeah.
it's one thing to be like anxious because you're trying to survive, but it's another thing of like for it to control you. I know you said Moses a
Yeah,
while
I
ago.
can
I definitely think Moses went through a big anxiety attack or panic attack, I would say, when he killed The Egyptian.
That's true because he ran away.
He ran away. I'm definitely sure. I mean, if I put myself in that situation and you go into the desert, I'm 100% sure he had more anxiety once he got there and he started thinking about what he had done and all the emotions, the anger, the sadness. Why was he experiencing that feeling? Why was he experiencing that sadness when he saw his people getting hurt? I'm definitely sure he went through an anxiety attack.
Oh, for sure. And it's like a ripple effect, though, because, like, one thing leads to the other. So, like, him killing, like, him allowing sin into his life by committing murder and then probably causing anxiety and then insecurity because then when God calls him, he's like, but I can't speak. And it's like, there's a lot of, like, things he tried to use us to, like, don't use me. And I think in life that happens, you know, we are subject to sin with our own decisions and it makes us anxious and then we reject what we think God could do in us because of like.
I mean, I guess you kind of put yourself down, like Sheki was giving an example of it. Definitely that's something that you deal with in your own head, like, I guess mentally, I guess. You kind of just, if you're already down, you're throwing yourself way lower than you're not.
You're burying yourself.
Yeah.
We had pre-written some other reasons why we believe, you know, people get anxious. I don't know if you're looking at something you want to share. Yeah, go for it.
No.
Oh, no? Okay.
I'm getting into, like, how.
Yeah, these are some examples we had where people fear the past and the future, which is for sure, like, kind of what we explained about some trauma. We fear about what people think about us. It relates to a lot of social anxiety. You know, a lot of people do struggle with social anxiety because they care more about, again, they can't control what people are going to think about them. So it's that fearing what you can't control. Fear due to emotional trauma, really relating to just personal experiences. Kids who have grown up on really, like, difficult houses, like homes, like just dysfunctional homes that just cause issues that in their life, in their future, once they're older, still affects them.
Yeah, and I think that ties back into, like, the first one, the we fear the past and the future, because it's, like, from your past experience or...
and the afraid that's going to repeat, maybe?
Yeah, you think it'll repeat, or from the future you think, well, I guess it could go to the same thing. Yeah, you think it'll repeat, or you just start thinking other things that you haven't experienced but are really scared of experiencing.
Right, yeah, I agree. Cool. We also put that in some cases, demonization. Now, next week, I think we're going to explore that a lot more because there's a whole, like, other side to this one, like a spiritual side and a mental side, but, like, and we definitely want to go and kind of explain that to you guys a little bit more because it for sure is a real thing. The spiritual world is, like, for sure a real thing. So, but in most cases, it's for sure that influence of, like, trying to feed fear into you. And so, and then also we feel like we need to rely on ourselves or other people in order to have rest and peace. It's like just pretty much like where are you putting your trust in? And trust, again, that's next week's.
I think that would also tie back into the third one. And the first one is we feel like we need to rely on ourselves because everybody else has disappointed us and fallen short of our expectations. But then we look at ourselves and we notice that we're not trustworthy either. So we get scared and we don't know who to run to.
Yeah. Right. Okay, awesome. So quick takeaways, guys. Before we go, let's just go ahead and, you know, share some quick things. Like the things you definitely don't want to leave out and the things we want them to hear before we go. Just some last final thoughts about anxiety. We ultimately do want you guys to know that anxiety is like something that is more normal than you think. But because it's more normal than you think, it doesn't mean that it's not important. For sure, if you've experienced it and if you're experiencing something difficult like anxiety attacks, like feel free to like reach out for help. Like every person does deserve like help because anxiety is just like a terrible place to fall into and let yourself be controlled by. But any final thoughts? Final things that come to your guys' mind when it comes to
just about like next episode we'll have more scripture. Yeah, to back it up because this was more like
introduction
experience and
I know anxiety can lead you to many thoughts. I kind of just wanted to throw it out there. I know that there's a lot of people that it kind of pushes them to thinking about suicide.
Oh, for sure.
And definitely it's something that we can work with. It's not something that it's going to drown you, even though it feels like it sometimes.
Yeah.
Definitely there's an outlet. but we can talk about it next week.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Excited.
please,
Yeah.
please come back next episode. Because if you're definitely relate to any of this, we definitely don't want you to feel like that it's not important. It definitely is.
And definitely, my story will have a second part because it does connect with the number 4 you said, the
Cool.
demonization. So
Yeah.
definitely,
Yeah, mine too.
it has
Sick.
a second part to it.
Yeah. And then there's a lot of scriptural stuff that we
Yeah.
did. Well, did you want to share?
No,
anything?
you're good.
Okay. Awesome. So that about does it for our first podcast. Again, thank you, Mount Youth, for tuning in. Share this with your friends if you believe this is gonna help someone. But again, feel free to hit that subscribe button so that you guys get notified when we upload that next episode. We really just want this to be an open discussion. Go ahead and fill the comments area with things you'd like to share. There's a lot of stuff what we did not get into in this short period of time.
There's reasons why.
There's reasons why. So, but then again, it's like it's a huge topic, and we'd love to continue exploring that with you. So, yeah, feel free to comment and keep on following up with this channel. So, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you guys on the next one.
Yeah.
All right.